Ladies and gentlemen, in every connection between a man and a woman, there are invisible boundaries, lines that, when crossed too soon, can weaken trust, respect, and attraction. Today, we're going to talk about 5 things a woman must always keep guarded. Not a fear, but out of wisdom. A seat, because what you protect in the beginning often determines the strength of what lasts in the end. You see, one of the greatest mistakes a woman can make in the early stages of a relationship is to believe that full transparency equals deeper connection. It doesn't. In fact, it often does the opposite. People will tell you, just be yourself. And while that sounds wholesome, it's dangerously incomplete. Being yourself does not mean pouring every unfiltered thought, every insecurity, and every fragment of your emotional turbulence into the lap of a man you've only just begun to know. That isn't intimacy, that's overexposure. Now, I'm not saying you should become an actor, crafting a fake persona, playing a role that isn't yours. What I am saying is that there's a profound difference between honesty and indiscretion. Honesty is a controlled truth, revealed in a way that builds trust and respect. Indiscretion is the uncontrolled dumping of one's inner world without context, without timing, without discernment. Men, like women, are deeply shaped by the law of mystery. What you conceal carefully and deliberately is often more attractive than what you reveal too soon. Think of your emotional life as an ocean. It has surface waves, the little joys and frustrations you can share freely, and it has deeper currents, the storms, the riptides, the swirling undercurrents that can pull someone into places they're not yet ready to navigate. When you open those depths to a man too early, you place an emotional burden on him that is not yet balanced by commitment, history, or shared struggle. The truth is, most people, men and women alike, are not equipped to handle the rawest parts of another's psyche right away. They haven't earned that right yet. Part of feminine wisdom is knowing that pacing is everything. Mystery isn't about hiding who you are. It's about revealing who you are in stages, in layers, in a way that keeps the other person moving forward to discover more. When a man has to work, not in the shallow sense of manipulation, but in the genuine pursuit of understanding you, he becomes invested. An investment breeds value. People value what they must earn. They take for granted what is given too easily. This is not just romance, it's human psychology, wired deep into our instincts. When you pour your entire emotional history into someone on the first few encounters, you might think you're building closeness, but often you're doing something else entirely. You're transferring weight. And when someone hasn't chosen to carry that weight, they will, over time, resent it. They will feel suffocated by a responsibility they never asked for. And worse, they may lose the very attraction that brought them close to you in the first place. Let's be clear, this is not about silencing yourself or pretending you don't have struggles. It's about cultivating restraint and timing, 2 qualities that signal maturity and self-respect. Because if you cannot hold your own emotional chaos, why should anyone else be trusted to hold it for you? That's not love, that's dependence. And dependence, without the foundation of trust and commitment, is fragile. It cracks under the slightest pressure. Some women fall into this trap because they're searching for validation. They think that if a man sees their pain and accepts them anyway, that proves his love. But love proven too early is rarely real. It's infatuation wearing the mask of understanding. A man might comfort you, might sympathize, but sympathy is not the same as attraction, and over time, unchecked vulnerability without balance will erode respect. The strongest relationships are built when 2 people gradually step into each other's worlds, earning the right to see the unfiltered parts. That's what deepens trust, not rushing it. The paradox is that by holding back, you give the relationship room to grow into a safe space where your inner storms can eventually be shared without fear of judgment or misuse. And when that time comes, your vulnerability won't be a liability. It will be a gift treasured because it's been earned. So the wisdom here is simple but not easy. Master the art of emotional pacing. Share your light freely, but guard your shadows until you know they're safe in the hands that will hold them. Men are not drawn to constant chaos. They are drawn to the balance of warmth and mystery, of openness and restraint. Reveal yourself like a great novel, 1 chapter at a time, and you'll find that the reader never loses interest. In the end, remember this: what you protect in the beginning is often what keeps the story alive until the end. One of the greatest indicators of wisdom in a woman is not what she says, but what she chooses not to say. And nowhere is that more important than in the realm of her strategic boundaries and long-term plans. You see, there's an almost universal tendency, especially in the flush of new connection, to want to share everything. to lay out your dreams, your vision, your 5-year goals, and exactly how you plan to get there. It feels like trust. It feels like openness. But in reality, it can be a subtle form of self-sabotage. A seat. When you reveal the full blueprint of your future to someone who hasn't yet proven their alignment with your values, you give them the power to influence, shape, or even undermine that vision before it's fully formed. And that doesn't always come from malice. It often comes from human nature. People are far more likely to project their own fears, insecurities, and limitations onto your plans when they hear them too early. A man hearing your ambitions may unconsciously measure them against his own comfort zone, his own ego, or his own priorities. And if your vision threatens those, even slightly, he may begin to chip away at it, sometimes subtly, sometimes directly, until it's no longer what it was meant to be. The truth is, our deepest aspirations are fragile in their infancy. They need to be protected like seeds in the soil, hidden, nurtured, and allowed to grow roots before they are exposed to the wind and weather of outside opinions. When you reveal them too soon, you risk having them trampled before they've had a chance to grow strong enough to withstand resistance. This is why a wise woman understands that not all trust is immediate. Trust is earned in increments. Just as in nature, you don't expose a delicate sprout to harsh conditions until it's ready. You don't hand over the map of your future until someone has demonstrated that they won't get in the way of the journey. That demonstration isn't in words. It's in actions, in consistent respect for your autonomy, and in their willingness to support your present without needing to control your future. There's also a deeper psychological layer to this. Mystery, as we spoke about earlier, doesn't only apply to your emotions. It applies to your plans. If you tell a man exactly where you're going in life, deserves a seat, you remove the element of discovery, you remove the possibility of him watching your growth unfold naturally, and you remove the subtle tension that keeps people intrigued. More importantly, you deprive yourself of the ability to observe how he reacts when you pursue your path without explaining every step. Everything deserves that. That reaction will tell you far more about his character than any conversation ever could. Some women believe that sharing everything immediately is a sign of transparency and a way to build trust quickly. But fast trust is often fragile trust. Strong, lasting trust comes from proving over time that you can walk your own path without losing the connection. And that proof requires boundaries, not walls, but boundaries that protect the integrity of your goals until the right moment comes to reveal them. Everything deserves a yet. There's also the harsh reality that not every man you meet will have your best interest at heart. Some will subtly discourage you because your success would challenge their sense of control or self-worth. Others may even try to steer you into a version of life that benefits them more than it benefits you. And sometimes, the danger isn't intentional. It's simply that their worldview is too small to contain your dreams. They might mean well, but their advice, their warnings, their hesitations can become weights tied to your ankles. By holding your long-term plans close to your chest until trust is earned, you give yourself the space to move freely, to adjust your course without interference, and to protect the fire of your ambition from those who would dim it, whether by accident or by design. And here's the paradox: the man who is truly worthy of you will not be threatened by the boundaries you set around your vision. He will respect them. He will see that your discretion is not secrecy born of distrust, but wisdom born of self-respect. And when you finally choose to share those plans, it will be because he has proven himself not only trustworthy, but capable of walking beside you without needing to hold the map. So remember this: your future is sacred ground. Not everyone deserves to walk on it. Money is one of the most powerful forces in human relationships and one of the most misunderstood. People think finances are just numbers in a bank account, but they're not. They are deeply tied to identity, power, freedom, and even love. That's why the moment you reveal the full extent of your financial reality to a man, you give him information that can instantly and unconsciously change the way he perceives you. And perception, once shifted, is almost impossible to reverse. If you are doing well financially, if you have savings, assets, or wealth, it can attract the wrong kind of attention. It can tempt certain men into comfort rather than contribution, into seeing you not as a partner, but as a provider. You may not even notice it at first. It's subtle. But slowly, the relationship dynamic can shift. The sense of pursuit can weaken. The drive to impress can dull. And before long, you might yourself carrying not just the emotional load, but the financial one as well. On the other hand, if you are struggling, if you have debts, unstable income, or are still building your financial base, revealing that too soon can trigger a different but equally damaging shift. Some men will unconsciously see you as a liability, a burden to be managed, rather than an equal to be respected. And even if they don't say it out loud, the energy changes. Decisions will start being made for you instead of with you. Opportunities will be filtered through the lens of what they think you can handle. Neither scenario is healthy. In both cases, the problem is not necessarily the man's conscious intent, it's human nature. Money is one of the most emotionally charged subjects we deal with, and it inevitably colors our interactions. That's why revealing too much too soon about your financial reality, good or bad, can distort the natural process of getting to know each other. Financial discretion is not dishonesty, it's self-protection. It's about allowing someone to value for your character, your presence. Your mind deserves a secret, your spirit for what you have or don't have in your bank account. If he's drawn to you without knowing whether you're wealthy or broke, then you've already filtered out a major false connection. And there's another layer to this control. Money has the power to control not only actions, but emotions. If a man knows exactly what you earn, what you own, or what you owe, he now holds a key that can be used, intentionally or accidentally, to influence your choices. This might show up as subtle pressure in how you spend, as opinions on what you should be doing financially, or even as a shift in the way he envisions your future together. By keeping those details private until the relationship has proven its stability, you protect yourself from external influence during a time when your judgment needs to be your own. You also protect the relationship from transactional thinking. Love is meant to be built on mutual respect, shared values, and a sense of partnership, but money can unconsciously turn love into an exchange. One person providing, the other consuming, and once that dynamic takes hold, it's hard to recover the purity of connection. Deserves a seat. It's worth noting that the strongest relationships are those where both people have a sense of financial independence. Independence doesn't necessarily mean equal income. It means each person is capable of standing on their own, making decisions from a place of choice rather than dependency. That independence is far easier to maintain if the early stages of the relationship are not clouded by financial disclosures that create unspoken power imbalances. So, this is not about secrecy for the sake of manipulation. It's about timing. Once you've built trust, once you've seen how he handles challenges, how he reacts to your ambitions, everything deserves a seat, and how he treats you when there's nothing to gain, then and only then can you begin to open the books. At that point, your financial reality is not just information. It's part of a shared life plan, something you both can navigate as equals. Until then, remember, money is not just a resource. It's a mirror. It reflects values, priorities, and power dynamics, and in the wrong hands, it can distort everything it touches. Keep it private until you're certain the hands that hold that knowledge will never use it against you. Because at the end of the day, the person who knows your worth should never measure it in dollars. Your past is a part of you, but it is not the whole of you. It's a landscape you've walked, sometimes beautiful, sometimes brutal, and it has shaped the person you are today. But here's the truth most people don't want to admitting. Not everyone deserves a guided tour of that landscape. And in the wrong hands, the details of your past can become weapons. There's a temptation, especially when you feel a spark with someone, to come clean about everything you've ever been through. Your mistakes, your regrets, your heartbreaks, the things you wish you could at a race. That this is how you prove authenticity, how you show trust. But too much, too soon, doesn't actually build trust. It gives away your power. When a man learns every detail of your history before he has the depth of connection to hold it responsibly, two things can happen. One, he may begin to see you through the lens of your past instead of the reality of who you are now. Or two, he may store those details away, unconsciously or otherwise, and in moments of conflict, he may reach for them to gain the upper hand. Even the most well-meaning man, if he's not truly ready, can mishandle your past, turning it into an unspoken judgment or a quiet form of control. The irony is the more difficult parts of your past are often the very things that made you wise, resilient, and interesting. But they need context. They need a foundation of mutual respect before they can be shared in a way that strengthens the relationship instead of undermining it. Without that foundation, what you think is vulnerability may be interpreted as instability or as a signal that you can be tested, pushed, or doubted. This is not about pretending you're flawless. It's about knowing the value of selective disclosure. You do not owe every man the unedited version of your life story. In fact, one of the strongest moves you can make is to allow him to experience you in the present first, to interact with the woman you've become Everything deserves a seat, rather than the battles you fought to get here. Because here's the reality: if a man is drawn to you without knowing your full history, that attraction is based on your current character, your presence, your values. And when eventually you do share more about your past, he'll already have the proof of who you are now. So your story will be seen in the light of your growth, not in the shadow of your mistakes. There's also an important psychological principle at play here: people respect what they must earn. If you hand over your deepest truths without requiring any investment from the other person, they lose the sense of privilege in knowing them. But when someone has to prove over time that they are capable of holding your story with care, the bond becomes far stronger. The knowledge is honored instead of exploited. Some will say, "But if I hide my past, aren't I being dishonest?" No. Dishonesty is when you fabricate or mislead. Privacy is when you choose the timing, the manner, and the audience for your truth. The difference is integrity. You can be truthful without being transparent to the point of self-sabotage. There's a quiet power in mystery here too. When you do not place your history on the table for immediate inspection, you allow curiosity and respect to build. You give the man space to see who you are without preconceptions. A seat, and if he's the right kind of man, he won't demand your history before he's earned it, because he'll understand that trust is a process, not a transaction. And perhaps most importantly, you protect yourself. You protect the parts of your story that are sacred, the wounds that are still tender, and the victories that are too precious to be shared casually. You ensure that when those details do come out, they are met not with casual judgment, but with reverence. In the end, your past is not an open book for anyone who simply asks. It's a library, and access is granted only to those who have shown they'll treat every chapter with care. Because the wrong man will use your history to define you, but the right man will see it as proof of how far you've come.